Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm just going to do something different. Now, of past years of modding with the PC itself, right, I've learned a great deal on electronic stuff, be it whether from friends, from the internet, and from books. Now, I'm just going to share it with you. But before I proceed, those who are actually under 18, right, please exit this video. And for those of you who are not very sure of electronic stuff, though I'm actually sharing with you, if you don't feel comfortable, please do not proceed. Okay, just exit this video. I will not hold any responsibilities if you get hurt. Now, before I start, I will explain to you there are two types of current. One is actually AC, which is actually alternating current. The other one is actually direct current, which is DC. Now, I'm not going to touch on the AC itself because it's of high voltage, so it's kind of like dangerous. So basically today's guide, right, I will share with you on DC current, which most of you are familiar when you're doing your PC build. Now, for safety precaution, right, make sure that your hands are dry. And of course, please discharge yourself off from your body so that you will not have the static charges. And if you feel not alright to work with your bare hands, you can actually wear rubber gloves. It's not conductive. For a start, let's start off with the multimeter itself. Okay, this is pretty handy. I've been using this for years. I will cover the section on DC, which you can see the logo here with a V, straight line and dotted lines. This is actually to measure direct current. I will not touch on ampere and the AC current, okay, or the resistor itself. But definitely I will not touch on AC and ampere. Now, next thing is that on multimeter itself, right, there is two probes. One is actually the positive and one is actually the negative. And how to actually go by plugging into the multimeter itself. If you can see here, right, comb is always black, okay, which is actually the ground or negative. And if you can see here, this is voltage, okay, this is ampere. So I will not plug on the ampere, I will plug on the voltage. Okay, reason being, right, you are actually using voltage. Let me just start my PSU, or should say power supply. Okay, before you fevel or measure anything from the power supply unit itself, okay, I'm just going to use the 4-pin Molex to explain. All right, first thing you need to do is actually to adjust it to DC, which is this side here. The voltage with a single line and dotted lines. Okay, set it to 20. Now on the Molex itself, right, do not start poking into those holes. Okay, you will need to know which is which. So as a guide, right, normally I know that pin 1 is actually 12 volt, pin 4 is 5 volts. So how do I actually see pin 1 on pin 4? Now, having this as a guide, okay, these are legacy kind of plug, whereby it has all the color combinations, or should I say the color code. Now, if you can see over here, right, there is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1 is definitely 12 volts, okay, then followed by ground, and the last one is 5 volts. So by looking at this, right, you wouldn't know which is which because it's all black. So I would actually look around and I saw that, okay, this is 1. Okay, and over the other side is 4. So I know that this is positive. Just to double check, to confirm, okay, that's why I'm saying that it's always handy to have this. Plug this in. Alright, when you plug in, right, when it fits, right, you can see over here, this is 1, okay, this is 12 volts, and we turn over here, this is 1, 12 volt. Okay, now since the power supply is actually on, how do I actually get 12 volts off from the Molex itself? Now do remember that when you're using a multimeter, right, always plug in your positive first before you plug in the ground. And when you are removing, right, make sure you remove the ground first, then the positive. Okay, now I know this is actually pin 1. Okay, just to double check. Yep, that's right. I'll poke it over here. And if you to see on the multimeter itself, right, by poking on the first pin and the second pin, right, it will give you 12 volts. Okay, look at the readings, which is actually 12 volts. Okay, this is ground. This is also ground. If you touch it, it will give you 12 volts. Now in reverse, I was saying this is actually 5 volt, the fourth one. So unplug the positive, plug on the last number 4 pin. Okay, and then when you connect to the ground, it will give you 5 volts. Alright, this is normally meant for ARGBs. The current is actually 5 volts, just for your info. Now, if I am to actually set it to 7 volts, where some of the fans, right, you want to actually constantly run on 7 volts, this is what you need to do. Okay, this is actually 12 volt, which is the first pin. Then the last pin, see, on the reading is giving you 7 volts. Okay, now I'll be right back. Welcome back. Okay, people been telling me that what if I were to poke the wrong polarity. Now, just as demonstration, right, I'm not going to use the power supply. I'm just going to use the 9 volt batteries, safer. Now, on the 9 volt batteries itself, right, you have a positive sign over here and a negative sign over here. So negative is always black, positive is always red. So if I were to put this like that, right, look at the multimeter itself, okay? If I'm going to put this correctly, it will give me a positive 8 volts. This is actually a 9 volt batteries, so I guess it's discharging. Now, if you put the polarity wrongly, right, do not worry, it will just give you a negative reading. See, it's negative 8.64. Okay, having to say this, right, now, fan connectors, right, are slightly different. Okay, if you to see this, okay, this is actually a fan connector. This is actually a PWM fan. I know that this gray here, right, in fact, is the ground. The second one is actually 12 volt, then followed by the sensor, the third one, and followed by the RPM controller. Now, fan has a different way of connection, so make sure that you get it right. Okay. Now, I'm just showing you the 3 pins, right? Just take note that for 3 pin fan connectors, right, the center one is always the 12 volts, and then this, right? Okay. Let's see. Is it 1? Yep, that's right. Indication here is actually 1. I'm not so sure if you can see it. Okay, let me just show you the other one. Assuming this is, oh, my bad. Oh, over here. Assuming this is actually 3 pin. Okay, 3 pin doesn't have the last one over here, so it's actually just 3 pin. So 1, right, is actually the ground. Center is actually the 12 volt, and the last one is actually the sensor itself. And of course, PWM fan, right, the last one is actually to control the RPM. Now, as I mentioned, right, 1 is always ground. The center, or should I say the second pin for 4 pin connectors, right, is always positive. If you to see this, right, when it connects, okay, right, when it connects, right, so take note, because when you connect this to this, okay, so the first pin here, right, is actually ground, so you know that this is ground. Okay, the first one is ground, the second one is actually positive. So assuming this is actually a fan connector, you connect it over here. So as you can see that this, the center one, is in fact the positive, and this is the negative. Probably I'll draw a diagram and show you guys, it's much clearer. Now, having to say this, I can actually test a fan. A fan will definitely run on 8 volts and above. Okay, some fan can even works with 5 volts. So having this, right, this comes in handy. I've actually altered this with crocodile clips. So I can actually test with just a 9 volt battery. So this is actually negative, this is actually positive. Now take note on the fan itself. Okay, I'm just going to move this away. Alright. If you do plug in the fan itself, right, on a 9 volt batteries, see, it's moving. The fan is moving. Okay. Now, besides this, you can actually make use of the 9 volt batteries, right, to test on LED strips. These are the standard 12 volt SMD 5050. I should say the 60 LEDs LED strips. So same thing. Let me just plug this here and this here. Okay. And just clip here. Now, having to say this, right, let me just show you a diagram over here. Okay, you have 12 volts for normal RGB LEDs, right? There's 12 volt, green, red, and blue. Now, how do I actually see it? On the LED itself, okay, if you can see, oh, over like this. If you can see, the first one is actually 12 volt. The second one is actually green. The third one is red. And the last one is blue. How do I actually test it? Simple. At the end, right, okay, since this is actually with color code, which is great. You have the 12 volt, you have the green, you have the red, and the blue. Now, as you know that the white is actually a 12 volt. So as I mentioned to you, it's always a practice to plug in the positive first before you plug in the negative. And to take out, it's always the negative first, then the positive. So by poking this, okay, just to show you, okay, positive and negative. All right. So by poking to the positive 12 volt,